Okay,
Oh, there you go.
there we go. So, hi everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Laura Hunter, and this is Celeste Gagnon. We're from Drop the Leash Dog Training, and we're here today to talk about leash reactivity in general, and also to talk about our new program. We're really excited about it, Walks at Work, so we want to explain how that works actually. So I thought we'd start, and we will be answering questions later. We do have some questions that have come up since we posted about the live. And if you do have a question that you would really like us to answer, what you would have to do is go back to the Drop the Leash Facebook page and post it in the comments section where we announce the live. So you can always do that as well. And we have someone that'll check that for us. So I thought we would start off today by just giving you a little bit of history, not about us personally, but about our dogs, because we both, in addition to teaching reactive dogs, we both own a reactive dog. And we have two very different experiences with our dogs. They're both very different. Their reactivity issues are different. So just to give you a little bit of background on them. So my dog Maddie is 7 years old. I think some people who follow Drop the Leash have seen some of my articles about her. I think that her reactivity was genetically based. I think she was born as a fearful dog. So she is a fear reactive dog. Because when I met her at 3 weeks, I knew that there were some issues, both with the other dogs in her litter, as well as being a little bit shy about humans. I did a lot of socialization with Maddie throughout that magical socialization period. And then when she was about 4 months old, I thought we were sort of verging on the edge of, was she going to be okay with other dogs, or was she, was it going to go the other way? We had an incident at a training facility where two off-leash dogs rolled over her, just playing and wrestling, and Maddie came up barking, and that was pretty much it for Maddie and other dogs. So she is reactive to pretty much every other dog on the planet. And interestingly enough, she is, when she hit the age of 2, which is social maturity starting to happen, she also started attacking my other 2 Australian Shepherds. So she can, and they were injurious fights. So we tried, but could not fix that. So she now, we all live in the same house, but we live separately. And because we live on a farm and we don't go to town a lot, we're not out in an urban community, I have chosen to handle Maddie's reactivity because, handle Maddie's reactivity through management. So it's simple for us to do that here. We manage her, we manage the group in the house, and I don't do as much training with her as I used to. However, we can still go to town, we can go to the vet, we can go off farm, and the training that I did with her originally still holds, but we are mostly in a management mode. So I'm going to turn you over to Celeste, who has Penny, and Penny and Celeste have a completely different experience, so I'll let her talk about that. Go ahead, Celeste.
When I got Penny, she was just a very shy puppy. There's nothing really signaling any kind of issues. She would play with other dogs, or she'd be in a room with other dogs and watch them. She wasn't really interested in interacting. She started becoming reactive between 8 months and a year. There might have been an incident. I wasn't experienced enough to necessarily recognize anything at the time. So we did a lot of training. This is before I met Laura. We did a lot of more obedience training, Rallyo, just kind of manners, basic manners classes. They didn't really help me fix anything. So the issue with Penny that differs from Maddie is that I live in the middle of a very densely populated suburb. So I have to walk her where there are people and dogs, and she was very reactive to both. If a person would look at her for any length of time, she would bark and lunge. if dogs were around, it was the same story. So it made walking her extremely difficult. I don't know. I don't want to talk about what it is now. I mean, walking her before was, you came home and your shoulder and your elbow were just aching because of the workout of you just holding her steady. She would pull you right off your feet. Neighbors and I mean anybody you walked by would be terrified of her. I mean, she's a large black German Shepherd. It has gotten a lot better. It was very embarrassing, very frustrating, and heartbreaking when you want to just enjoy a pleasant walk with your dog, and you have this Cujo at the end of your leash.
I think, if you don't mind my interrupting here,
No,
I think a little bit of the difference, though, is that Penny is, we've seen Penny interact with other dogs off leash, and she has been able to do that.
So, off leash, she is much more comfortable, but she will not play with dogs.
No.
She will hang back. No, speak of the devil. She will hang back and just kind of watch everything going on. She's not that interested in actually being part of the playtime. I know.
But she is, I know that I'm comfortable when she comes to training, she's off leash with other dogs, whereas Maddie, who is fear reactive, needs a football field worth of distance from other dogs. And I do think that we're not sure what Maddie would do, but we know she is. And that is, there's two types. The main two types of leash reactivity are frustration-based and fear-based. And Maddie definitely is totally fear-based, whereas you and I were talking the other night about Penny, and she seems to be a little bit of a mixture, not totally fear-based, because she can go and interact with other dogs off leash, which Maddie can't.
Yeah.
That's the diagnostic criteria there. But she and Maddie, she like Maddie also has a bit of anxiety about other dogs too. So it's often a mix. It's not always clear cut with reactive dogs. It's often a mix of several different. There are some dogs who are just proximity sensitive, and they just don't want other dogs in their faces. So it's never as clear cut as it's fear based or it's frustration based. Sometimes it is, but with our dogs, I think there's a little bit of everything in there with our two dogs.
There is, and I think that, I mean, there was a time where Penny couldn't have done all the things you just described.
Yeah.
So the work we put in has helped.
Yes, and I'm going to ask you later to describe the difference between Penny then and Penny now.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because you see she keeps looking at me. She's looking out the window and looking at me. It's because a car just pulled up and parked in front of my house.
Yes, and also there's the difference right there in how we handle, because I'm not strictly, but I go mostly with management, whereas you have spent an awful lot of time training and working with Penny through the program, so that she is responsive to you out in the world, and she's not lunging, barking out at the window, which she used to do. So you've definitely solved it, most of yours through training with some management, and I've done mostly management with some training. So we're polar opposites here. That's okay. So while Celeste is off with Penny there to answer the door, I'm just going to switch gears here and talk about the program. So we're pretty excited. It's a new program. It's called Walks at Work. I have done training with reactive dogs in the past. We are not new to working with reactive dogs. And I did try a live group program a few years ago, which we found wasn't terribly effective, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I also did some private training for a couple of years with my clients, both here at our facility and out in the community. And for various reasons, neither of those were terribly effective. Not in terms of the skills we were trying to offer, but in terms of the format of the class. So I'll just talk a little bit about the program, and it'll become a little clearer as to how we've changed things. So First of all, when I decided to put the program together, I wanted to design something that would work for both of our types of dogs. So whether it's fear-based reactivity or frustration-based reactivity, I wanted something that would work for both dogs. The ultimate goal in our program is to teach our dogs to disengage from the triggers that trigger their reactivity and orient back to us. And it was really important that it had to be their choice, because I'm sure that any of you who are listening and who have reactive dogs have come to realize that you can't physically control the situation. You can't tighten up on your leash. You can't pull your dog. Sometimes you have to in an emergency, but that is not how to deal with reactivity, not through physical control of the dog. So we are definitely believers in choice-based training here, and I wanted that to be an important part of the program. So we've had a lot of success over the past few years with choice-based training through our Games to Train program. And the Walks That Work program is now going to, utilizes and incorporates a lot of the games concepts and activities. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Games to Train program, it's a pretty non-traditional program. We teach our dogs to disengage from distractions and focus on us by playing games with them. So through the games, we offer fun for the dogs, we offer focus from us in the game, and we offer tangible reinforcers. So all of this builds our dog's desire to be with us. So we set up situations where the dog, the situations are controlled enough that we hope the dog can make the good choices that we want them to make. And when they come back to when they choose us over the environment, we offer them the games as a reward. So it's builds huge value for them staying with us and coming back to us and just wanting to hang out with us. So that sounds like a lot of fun, and it actually might even sound a little bit fluffy, but it's not. And it's definitely not going to be fluffy in Walks That Works. Walks That Works is very similar, but it is a lot more intensive than the games program, and it's going to be a lot more extensive as well. In Walks That Work, the dogs are going to have a really great time playing games. They're going to learn stuff. They're going to have fun. Hopefully the humans are too, but in addition to just playing game, we're not just playing games. We're also going to be teaching the human handlers defensive handling skills, leash mechanics, how to read canine body language, how to problem solve, and how to understand the underlying concepts about just getting your dog out there in the world successfully. So it is an online program, and we are going online for a specific reason. First of all, I've discovered from my own personal experience, and I think Celeste would too from earlier training classes she's done with Penny, it doesn't work to take a reactive dog to a group class, especially if you've got a reactive dog like mine that needs to be a football field away from other dogs before she can calm down. So I know in my own experience, I did take Maddie to reactive dog classes when she was younger. The instructors were amazing. The Women Runs program was amazing. The class was great. It just didn't work for my dog because she was in a contained area. They weren't running it in an airplane hangar, which would have worked for us. And we tried some just general manners classes, but again, it was too stressful for us. It was stressful getting to class, hanging out outside class, and trying to get in at the right time. Having Maddie in a closed area like that, I think that there was a lot of flooding involved, and flooding is when a dog is overwhelmed, just shuts down. I think she was flooded, and it was just stressful. It kind of had the opposite effect on us. It didn't make us feel any better about leash reactivity. It made us feel worse. So what we're going to do in our Walks That Work program, the reason we're bringing that to you online to begin with is because we follow 3 principles in everything we do with our dogs. First of all, we always believe in working at the dog's level of success. So we want to work in a situation where the dog can be successful. We don't want to put them in situations where they're going to be stressed, because fear and stress interfere with learning. They're going to prevent the dog from learning. So we want them always to be in a good, secure, safe, happy place where they can learn. Secondly, we believe that you should train with your dog for the situation and not in the situation. So the last place you want to try and teach your dog a new skill is in an environment where they're over threshold, where they're overexcited and they can't listen to you, or even if they're coming up to that threshold. We want to be able to teach them in an area, in an environment where they can focus on us and actually absorb the learning. And thirdly, we just want them to have fun. Training your dog should be fun. And for a lot of people with reactive dogs, there's lots of parts of your life that aren't fun. We get that. It's stressful and it's worrisome, and fun doesn't always enter in the equation. So in order to support all those concepts and have you guys enjoy training with your dog and maybe repair a relationship that's a little bit rocky, we're going to bring the class to you at home. So home is the perfect place to start. It's where we start all of our games. We tell our game students, start in your kitchen. At home, you and your dog can play comfortably. You don't have stress. You can have fun. You can be successful. And then you can start, maybe take it out in your backyard, take it in your garage, take it out to your front. But we'll help you with that as well. We will help you get it out into the world. So in the beginning, all you have to do is play, practice, and become competent with the games and the activities in your house. All of the games and skills are in 3 to 5 minute videos. I teach them just the way I teach them in a live class. And the advantage of this over a live class is A, it's not as stressful, but B, you have those videos at your fingertips. So if you've forgotten something or you're not sure about something, you can go back and look at it as often as you want, 24/7, and you can watch it as many times as you want, as many times as you can put up with watching me, I guess. So it is. I think it's easier. We found in our puppy classes, it's been really good for them to have, for all our puppy programs, all our puppy students to have those videos all the time. So if you get bogged down on something, or you have questions, or you just want feedback on how well you and your dog are doing together, I'm available most days of the week. I'm only an email or a text away from any of my students. And if you text me or you email me and say, look, I need help, I have a question, do you mind watching what I'm doing? It's not working so well. I will get back to you ASAP. I'll get back to you that day as soon as I possibly can. And we can, if it's something you want me to see, it's super easy to connect these days. FaceTime is great, Facebook Messenger. There have been, I think through Facebook Messenger, I've actually gone on some virtual walks with some of my clients in the puppy program, and I've been able to help them as they take their pups for walks. So easy for us to give you that kind of support. So once you're comfortable in your house, in your backyard, and you're doing well with the skills, and I should just also add that we're not going to deliver all the skills all at once to you, because we absolutely don't want to overwhelm you. And we know that we know the priority progression from working with our own dogs. So each week we're going to deliver one unit to you guys, and that way you can work in one specific area before moving on to a different one the following week. So once you're comfortable in your house and your backyard with your skills, it's time to take them out in the world. So that's where our weekly live lessons come in, because that's where we provide you with help and support and information that you need in order to be successful out in the world. So with the weekly live Zoom lessons, you show up without your dog. You can bring your tea, your coffee, your wine, anything you want, but don't bring your dog. What we found was in the live classes, nobody could listen to us with a dog on the end of the leash, and that's normal. Whereas this is about us having a conversation with you and giving you all of those underlying concepts. So in the live lessons, we can give you strategies for working with the distractions. So once you go out in the world, you're not going to be running out immediately to look for dogs to work with. We're just going to work on more neutral distractions, but even those distractions are tough for dogs. So we'll give you strategies for how to work with those. We'll teach you how to manage your dog's stress levels when they're on leash, and actually we'll teach you how to manage their stress levels at home as well. We'll give you tools and techniques to get out of the tough situations, because we all know that no matter how good we are, we're going to run into those situations where an owner, well-meaning owner, and a dog pop up in front of your face. So we're going to give you techniques to get out of those situations. We're going to give you some emergency tools. We're going to work through problem-solving scenarios before you even go out in the world. So we'll, we'll do a lot of what if this happens. Let's think about what you should be doing, and we're going to answer all your questions from the previous week as well. Not that you have to save them up for the live. You can toss them at me during the week, but things will come up, and you might have more questions. And we're going to help you set some realistic weekly goals and give you some sort of training steps to work towards those goals. So the lives are really important. We're finding them to be a huge benefit in the puppy program. And I'm sure they're going to be a huge benefit for the reactive program as well. So we're really committed to doing those. Everybody really enjoys those. I've had a really good attendance rate at my live, so I think my students are getting a lot out of those.
Well, but the nice thing about the lives too is you're going to notice that you are not alone in this. Everybody's having the same kind of stresses and frustrations that you are, and that's kind of nice to hear sometimes, because as a reactive dog owner, you often feel very out of control and alone in the situation. So to have a group live where everybody's kind of like, yeah, I have that problem too. It's nice kind of support group that you can have there.
Yes, absolutely. And for us, the cool thing I find in the group lives is that I've now gotten to know all of my puppy students pretty well. Whereas, Celeste and I used to teach the game. We taught the games to train classes together, and people would bring their dogs in, and we would try to be getting them through the activities that were scheduled for that day. But by the time everybody came in, calmed down, we got them through the activities, we couldn't sit and talk with our clients. We couldn't chat about issues. We couldn't sort of deliver the underlying theory as to why we were doing what we were doing. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just the setup of the class. If you've got a group with 6 people in a class and all their dogs are bouncing on the end of their lines, no, but it's very hard to listen, and it's very hard for us to get to know you other than that hour of class. So I really, really am enjoying my lives because I feel I have a personal connection with all my students right now. And I'd almost forgotten, but when you brought that point up, Celeste, is that we also have a Facebook private group for the reactive dog students. So you're welcome to post questions about any issues you have. I'll check for questions. You can share successes, which is really nice. It's always nice to hear success stories, and we can support each other. And I think you're absolutely right. This is one group where we all need to support each other. Look how often we talk about reactivity, and we have classes at the farm where everybody's got a reactive dog, and everybody is super supportive of each other. So. Yeah. It is important. It's super important to know you are not alone out there. For us, reactivity is a way of life. I think I would say that, 50% of our agility students have some sort of reactivity because they're super high drive, dogs, and they're in exciting situations. So, reactivity is a bit normal for us, I think, but not for everybody. So, I think a lot of people think they're alone out there. So at the end of the 6 weeks, we're hoping that some of you, maybe many of you, will be comfortable enough that you can take your dog out into all those situations in the community, and you have the skills to work with them, and you feel like you're in control of the situation. However, you know, some dogs take longer, and some clients take longer to feel confident about that. So what we've decided to do is offer an add-on, an extra option of live classes here at my facility, so that people can have the opportunity to come in and practice in a small group controlled situation. And we will be there to give you hands-on coaching and direction as well. And this will be certainly not, it will not look anything like the group class that we ran before, where people came in without the skills and it was a really tough situation. This time people will be coming in with hopefully a good solid base of skills, and we will set up the environment so that every dog can work under threshold, and so that you guys can really practice with your dogs under threshold. And we can also practice decreasing the distance between the dogs under controlled conditions. So I think that could offer a lot of confidence building to people who need it. So we'll certainly, as the program progresses, we'll certainly let everybody know how that's going to be structured and presented. We're going to, we have some questions that people have sent in that we're going to go through. But just before that, I want to go back to Celeste again, because the one thing I want to say about Walks at Work is that I totally believe in it, because the program works. Hopefully your walks will work, but we know our program works. And I know it works because Maddie has gone through the program and she certainly changed. But Celeste, you and Penny are like the poster girls for Walks at Work, because I remember when you first came to us, and I think it was just for agility, and you guys were great, but you had, to be honest, you had a death grip on your dog, and it was more a case of just sort of getting her through the situations, and with trying to keep her under threshold. And I could see that you were stressed in the situation as well.
Yeah.
And now when I look at you and Penny, it's unbelievable. Like, to watch you two together, it's just beautiful. You guys look like you're dancing out there. Your leash is always loose. Your dog is always focused on you. You look totally relaxed. Even last night when you were leaving the agility class, I remember you used to rush out and hide behind a car. My truck was parked up there, and sneak down the hill, whereas you were standing out there on the hill in full view of the next class, and you were able to chat with me and still totally keep Penny happy and focused. And it was amazing. I wish I had a video of that. So obviously you guys have come a long way through the program. So I thought you might just want to add to that, because I know it's working for you out in the community too, which is the important.
Yeah. So the way these games work, it is training, but it's also teaching you to be very observant of your surrounding and your dog. Learn to read the signals your dog is giving you, and then advocate for your dog, because they are reacting these ways. It's emotional, and you need to be there to support them and to help them through what they are trying to get through. And I think once you get that in your head, it almost gives you back that control that you feel like you don't have originally with a reactive dog. You have this dog that's out of control. You can't control it. This is all about like, what do I do? What do I do? I think if you get into the mindset that your dog needs you to help it and advocate for it or her in certain situations, and these games are a really fun, playful way of doing it, it helps give you that confidence. And then once you have that confidence, your dog usually gets the confidence as well. So my walks is we play. I talk with her constantly. I'm sure my neighbors think I'm insane because I'm just chatting with my dog for like a 4-kilometer walk. It's also about management, knowing the distance your dog needs. So I know if I see somebody and they're coming the same direction, they're coming towards me, I know that, maybe I need to cross the road just to give her the comfort she needs, and we'll make it through this area instead of walking face to face. Or like, you start to know what your dog needs and how to work with it. So it's training, it's playing with your dog, but it's also a little bit of management, which is where the leash handling is going to come in, and setting situations up or knowing what to do in certain situations that are just day to day. I mean, when I take my dog for a walk, we are going to see people and we are going to see dogs. When we see people now, she just looks at me and waits. She does a perfect heel and she looks at me and waits for her reward or treat or her praise or whatever it is that I happen to have that day. Dogs, distance is an issue. So if things are out of control, it becomes a management. If I can't avoid something, it becomes a management issue. If we have the distance, then I'll play games with her and it'll work.
Yeah, but you two are having a lot more fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And you're able to take her to, I think you're able to take her to more locations and more events. I think you called me one day and you were at a fair. You were at one of the fairs.
Okay. Yeah, that was an accident.
Survived. Where 3 years ago, I think I said, "Are you going to a fall fair?" You would have had a heart attack.
Yeah. So I think, I can take her just about anywhere. There are certain situations that I know would be very stressful for her. So if I had to go there, I would make it a short visit. But yeah, I mean, working slowly and working your way up to challenges for your dog and yourself, because it's a lot of work for you, the handler. It's a lot of brain work and emotional work because you're looking around all the time and you want to be prepared.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can take her just about anywhere now.
And that's
preparation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's an interesting point too, because Maddie hasn't been off the farm in a long time, and we had to, of course, take her and drop her in a vet parking lot during COVID. And I was a little stressed about that. And she was actually the calmest dog in the parking lot. I was quite shocked. But the thing with working with, if you have a reactive dog and you're working with it, and if you're committed to doing the work, and you're going to end up with a really well-trained dog or a really well-behaved dog, a dog that you can take to a lot of locations.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of, and I'm not dissing any dog owners out in the world, but I actually think that people with reactive dogs have, their dogs seem to have better manners and more focus on the owner and more, I don't want to say obedience skills, but they're just they're just more attentive, they're more responsive, they're better trained. They're just better trained because we have to.
Yeah.
And through the games, we're trying to make it as fun for people as possible. Like, I went to a couple of programs, they were very serious, and, that's not our style. And through the games, because the games are easy and you play them for 2 minutes, you and I pretty much play them everywhere in the world that we go. So the beauty of the games is that you can just go into games mode and settle your dog right down. You don't have to train them specifically for 30 minutes a day. You just get them. We're going to help everybody get them out there as quickly as possible, and you just play. You play out there, and the dog is happy, and the dog is, and I think the dog's happy. Well, we're less stressed, but I also think the dog's enjoyment of the games and their joy in being with you is a positive thing for them, and creates a positive response to their walks, period. Because a lot of dogs, that reactivity creates stress throughout the entire walk. So yeah. I think the games go, I think with you, I've seen you and Penny playing the games out there. on your walks, if in the video. So I think that goes a long way to reducing stress for both the owner and the dog, just to be able to have something fun and joyful to do on a walk that still has a real benefit for the reactivity.
The way I see it is, I mean, maybe it's because we both like agility, and so it's kind of a sport dog mentality. But even with this kind of training, I see myself as like you're forming a team with your dog.
Yeah.
So you have that partnership and that playfulness that you would have if you were in a sports team, or if you were, you know.
Yeah.
So walking, it's still that kind of mentality. You know, we're going to play these games. We're going to do this, and we're going to get to the finish line, kind of thing, which is back in the house.
Absolutely. And your dog knows that they can depend on you to be there with that during the walk. And so I think that's a big part of it too. You know? So, so, you know, you brought up a couple of really good points, and some of them are in the questions that have been sent to us. And as you pointed out, Celeste, and I'm reading a question here, which is this one we get all the time. Will your dog's reactivity, will my dog, I guess if you're asking the question, will my dog's reactivity be resolved by the end of 6 weeks? You know, I have to say that, and I think Celeste would agree with me, probably not. And that brings up an interesting point, is that our dogs are who they are. You know, if you're looking for complete resolution of your dog's issues, I'm not sure that's realistic for every dog. Maybe if it's simply leash frustration, it could be possible to totally 100% resolve that. But I have a fearful dog. Both our dogs are a little bit anxious. They're always going to be who they are. I think for us, realistically, we are happy that we've reduced their leash reactivity substantially, and they're happy for the most part when we take them out in the world, and we're happy for the most part when we take them out in the world. But I know that at times Maddie's anxiety will get the best of her, and you know at times that Penny will see, you know, a dog that for some unknown reason known only to dogs, that dog will bring out that reactive response. And actually we have an agility class with, well, at one point there were 4 reactive dogs in the agility class, 4 for 4. And the handlers were fantastic and kept them under threshold and kept them calm, and everybody was able to stand on the side of my agility hill without X-pens, fencing, or visual barriers, and keep their dogs. But every once in a while, one of the dogs would just look at the other one and react. So I think that and you can tell me if you agree with this, Celeste, we are always going to have to be on alert and aware of the environment when we take our dogs out, and we are always going to have to be ready to help them out of situations. I don't think any of us with leash reactive dogs or reactive dogs in general are going to be the people who can walk down the street while texting on their cell phones.
No.
You know, so because that's when it'll happen. So you know, our goal is in the program is to reduce the reactivity, teach the dogs a good alternative behavior, make them feel more positive about those situations, and reduce the stress, certainly in the humans who are out there walking, so that you guys can go out and enjoy, you know, your world and your community. But I guess with the caveat that you're always going to have to be aware, I think.
Yeah. So the one thing to that I'd like to add is that while you do always have to be aware for the rest of your dog's life, really, it's easier on you because it becomes a reflex almost, or an instinct. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of work at first. You're going to feel like, oh, this is impossible. I can't keep doing this. But it actually becomes very instinctual. And so even though you are constantly scanning and aware of everything around you, you're not consciously doing it, which makes things a lot easier.
it's muscle memory.
It is.
It's automatic.
It is.
I find that even when I've got my dogs, the other two out in the backfield, I'm always scanning the backfield because there's a flock of turkeys out there that are stalking Rosie these days. So I'm always scanning. It takes no effort to do it. I don't even realize I do it. It's just what I've learned to do with Maddie, and I do it with all my dogs. And even Brett, my husband, said to me the other day, he said, people don't realize, he said, you're always playing games with your dog. I said, really? I don't even think about it anymore. But we're just always playing games with our dogs, and it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's just an automatic thing. And I think we have that automatic, you know, we have that automatic skill that we do. But I think the dogs also build, if you're willing to put the time in the program, they also build the automatic response back to us.
Yes.
You know, so the gold star skill in our program is, of course, the look at that cue. And I find that, and you probably might find this with Penny, well, you do find this with Penny, is that we used to have to mark the dogs, yes, for looking. Now Penny looks, and then she looks back to you without even waiting for that cue.
Yeah.
from you. So it's just a muscle memory automatic thing. The value for Penny is in giving you that response back. So it does become easier. It takes a lot of practice, but not practice. It's not, you have to carve an hour out of your day to go and practice with your dog. You just take it on the walk, you know?
Yeah, you make it part of your routine.
Yeah,
your day-to-day life.
Yeah. And the games are really practical for just tiring your dog out and giving them some mental stimulation. So I know if I can't take the dogs for a walk, if I'm busy working that day, you go in the backyard and you play the games for 5 minutes. Your dogs are happy to come in the house and sleep for 3 hours. So they're useful everywhere. They're, you know, it's not that we're asking anybody to practice things that are specifically rehabilitative. It's just a good way to build a relationship with your dog. So that was a very long answer to, will your dog's reactivity be resolved by the end of the 6 weeks? And of course, it also depends on how much time how people are gonna commit to the course, how much work, not work, how much play they're gonna put in, and also how long your dog has been practicing the reactive skills, their reactive behaviors, because that's the thing about reactivity. That's the management component that will help you with, is that when your dog practices that, and it doesn't matter whether your dog's on a leash or whether they're running at the front door or, you know, barking out the window, if they are practicing that a lot, that's going to become really entrenched. And the more they do it, they think it works for them. So if you've got a dog who's window reactive and they're barking at people walking by, holy mackerel, that works every time, because look, they barked and they left. Is going to become a super entrenched behavior. So for some of the dogs, it might take a little bit longer. They don't have a time agenda. But the beauty is that you have the course, and you can keep working on, you can go back to the lives, you can refer to the videos, you can keep working through all of the skill levels even after, and in fact, that's what we hope you do, even after the course is over, because again, they're fun. They're not horrible to, you know, it's not like work, it's fun stuff. And I know, because I've done a lot of online courses myself, is that I find I go back to them afterwards and I discover activities that I didn't really pay attention to the first time, but I go back and try a new one and I go, wow, that's great. I can add that to my repertoire. So we have really packed this course pretty full, because I know I have people who approach training and working with their dogs differently. So what we're going to do in each weekly unit is we're going to say to you guys, here's the bare minimum, here are the 2 skills or 2 games that you need to play this week in order to survive out there and get some success. But there's going to be 4 other games in that unit as well, because I know I have people that just are training nerds like us who just want to learn everything. So they will probably go on and do everything at some point, although they won't manage it in 6 weeks, I don't think. But we will give you, for those of you who don't want to put in that much. Okay, there's something weird in my.
I think you have a fly.
Is there a fly?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, there is. Thanks, Celeste. That's why I have you here. So you know, we'll give you the minimum, but then there's a lot more that you can continue to do. So you just keep working at it, and then one day, you know, your dog looks at a dog and looks back at you, and it's all worthwhile, I think. So I'm just looking through. Oh, here's my question sheet. I don't know how long we've been on here. We'll keep going.
5 minutes.
Let me look and see if they're. Let me just get through these questions. I think throughout the video we've made it clear that most reactivity is based on either fear or frustration in dogs. Because I have a question: are reactive dogs aggressive? No. Reactive dogs can display aggressive behavior. In Maddie's case, it is to send the other dog further away, just to increase space and distance between her and what she's afraid of. With frustration, it is just about being frustrated because they can't reach the dog that they want to greet. So it's a little bit like a child. If you keep telling them they can't have something they really want, they're going to throw a bit of a temper tantrum. And it looks like aggressive behavior, but it isn't. It isn't. I don't worry about a lot of dogs actually doing damage to other dogs, because in most aggressive displays, it's what we call ritualized aggression. It's just a lot of sound and fury, but the dog isn't intending to actually damage another dog. So they do display those behaviors, but they are not aggressive. We call it either fearful or frustrated, and those are emotions. Those are both emotional responses that you know, the dogs just can't help. It's not deliberate behavior. There's nothing deliberate about it either. So I'm hoping that answered that question. Here's this one. This is an interesting one. And this is from Charmaine, who I know. So she said that her dog, she was wondering if COVID made a difference to the reactivity. Celeste can answer that one in a second. And she said, Bree, her dog is so hit and miss when walking. Sometimes she looks like she wants to say hello or play, but then she growls when they approach each other. She's much better socializing off leash. Absolutely. I can, Celeste, can you just, in like 1 or 2 sentences, what's been the difference for Penny since COVID? What was her, because I know we talked about this a bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that I don't know if my answer is like science-based at all. It's experience-based. I mean, for me, in my personal situation with Penny, COVID has made her almost less reactive, because we don't have to avoid people, because everybody's avoiding everybody. So the distance is there. It's made our walks a lot easier when people just cross the road anyway, because no one wants to be close to each other.
Yeah.
I think that if you had a dog who likes to play with other dogs, though, and is used to playing with other dogs and can't, then that might be a bit more frustrating for them.
Sorry.
I think really it comes down to consistency.
Yeah.
Everybody's schedule changed. People were home when they weren't usually home. Routines changed. People are stressed and anxious, and the dogs feel that. So I think that a lot of things, because of COVID, have changed or affected our dog's behavior, but I don't know if it would cause more reactivity.
No.
Necessarily.
I can tell you, I can give you the science-based answer to Penny.
Yeah.
Less reactive, which is your stress levels went down, her stress levels went down, because you guys didn't encounter as many other dogs, as many triggers on your walks.
Yeah.
So you know that you and I both know that dogs can trigger stack, which means that if your dog goes every walk, they encounter another dog or two or three or four in every walk, and they react to that, their stress levels are going to go up.
Mhm.
And dogs' stress levels can stay up for up to 72 hours. It's, they don't sort of go home, have a glass of wine, and laugh things off like we do.
Yeah.
Their stress levels stay up, and if they're always being exposed on a regular basis to that reactivity out on the situations out on a walk, their stress levels are never going to come down because you're stacking more and more stress on all the time. So I think for a lot of dogs, COVID has been a bit of a reprieve. It's able to calm down. They're not practicing those behaviors as much because there's not as much opportunity. So those behaviors might be not as entrenched in a lot of dogs. But I really do think it's the stress levels coming down. It's a vacation. It's like going on vacation for us. You hope you're stressed.
We made the joke when COVID first started that, reactive owners have been working on this forever. Social distancing, we're ready.
Exactly. So the social distancing. And Charmaine had an important, the other part of her question is very important because she said Bree sometimes looks like she wants to say hello to another dog, but then they growl when they approach. But Charmaine is smart enough to know that also that she says socializing off leash is much better. Yes, we do. Not encourage dogs with reactive issues or owners. We do not encourage the owners to think about meeting other dogs on leash. And I know that's always, that was one of the questions on the list. When can my dog meet another dog on leash? I actually discourage all dogs from meeting other dogs on leash because there is very little control over how they do it and how they do it naturally. So if dogs are going to greet each other, they're not going to greet nose to nose in their own natural world. If they're off leash, they're going to choose to circle around to the side of each other and give each other space, take the space you need. They'll get to know each other, decide if they want to meet, and then they might move on. Whereas as soon as you put two dogs on a leash and they're pulling towards each other, they're going to meet nose to nose, and that's not a happy place for dogs. Nose to nose, it's not good at all. We, if we see dogs staring at each other like that, we always try and break that eye contact. So they're nose to nose. They're not where they want to be in the meeting. And they're on a tight leash, so they have no option. They're given no control to decide to leave or decide to stay or move to the side. And then usually what happens is when the owners want to take them away, they tighten up even further on the leash. And I know that Michael Shikashio, who is he's our hero. He's like the god of dog aggression, says that when you tighten on the leash like that to pull your dog away, it's like pulling the trigger on the gun. So if you really, really want your dog to meet another dog on leash, they should be able to approach on a loose leash or a long line or no leash. And you should be able to call them away on a loose leash after 2 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. And I think there's very few dog owners that can do that. Even if you can do it, the question is whether the other person with the other dog can do it. And on leash, off leash greetings are just as can go just as horribly wrong as two dogs on leash. So we just tell everybody, please just stay away from that, especially if you've had a dog who's had a reactive incident or several. Just stay away from that totally.
Yeah, you don't want any setbacks while you're learning these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, destroy everything that you've been teaching your dog. Absolutely, for sure. Let's see, we probably got time for one more question. We don't want to talk everybody to death. I think this is the most important one, which is, well, there's two we can almost combine. Why is my dog reactive? And did I do something wrong? Because people often think that they have done something wrong to, cause their dog to be leash reactive. And I'll just give a quick answer, and I'll let you talk about it too, Celeste. So to my way of thinking, one of the biggest causes of leash reactivity are 6-foot leashes anyway. We did a video for our Walks at Work series. You can find that, I think you can find that on YouTube, about walking with your Aunt Alice, and how your Aunt Alice, had to hold onto your arm all day, and every time you wanted to meet somebody you were shopping with her, she wouldn't let you, and she'd pull you back, and she'd hang on to you, and she'd walk too slow, and by the end of the day you just want to scream. And that's really how our dogs feel when they're on 6-foot leashes. So they're very, dogs are built to move and interact with other dogs, and they're really, all of that is pretty much taken away from them on a 6-foot leash. They don't have the opportunity to explore and move and, interact freely with others. So I think that's a big factor. And so, in our program, we often talk about using longer lines, 10-foot lines, so your dog can, have some options when they're on the walk, so they're not as frustrated. If we do a lot of, we tell people to, stop and let your dog sniff a lot, teach them that walking on a loose leash is a happy thing. Dogs that pull on leashes all the time are always in a bit of a state of over-arousal and excitement. So definitely loose leash walking, I think, is a big factor as well, taking the time. And, we do that through games in the program. So I don't think people are intentionally creating reactive dogs. I think inadvertently it can happen, because I know that everybody's first natural response the first few times your dog lunges and barks is to correct, especially people don't understand. They're afraid the dog is just being a bad dog or an aggressive dog, is to yell no, 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 or pull on the leash. But, people, that's no one's fault. It's just a lack of understanding about, what's happening. And I don't think anybody should beat themselves up about this at all. Celeste?
No, I really have nothing to add to that. I think,
sorry, I talked too much.
No, you don't talk too much. I think it's really, it is that you do the best that you can with the information that you have. And then when you learn more and you know what to do that might be better or work better for you, then that's what you do.
Yeah.
People need to give themselves a break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We all screw up all the time.
We do. Yeah. We do. And even after you learn everything, I mean, I still have days where I'm like, you know what? I got lazy today because I thought Penny knew this, and so I didn't do the work. And then all of a sudden she reacts, and I'm like, you know what? That's my fault. That was my fault. But it's not a big deal, because it happens.
That's right. That's right. We have the problem in our house of reactive barking like 900 times a day. I can patiently work with it till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I have to admit, some days I just say, shut up, just shut up, guys, you're not barking anything. You're barking in Annie's imagination. So, we're all human, and we all just get fed up at times, and we all make mistakes, and it's fine. Fortunately, dogs are pretty forgiving, and we can fix most of those mistakes and move on. So, okay, so we have a few more questions, but I think we've answered enough for today, and I'm hoping that you guys have a bit of a better understanding about leash reactivity. And if you are looking for help, I think that Scott has posted the link to the program in the video below. And if you have questions as a result of this, and you want to post them up on, as I said, the post on Drop the Leash that announced this session, I'm quite happy to answer a few more general questions. It's hard to answer specific training questions, but we're always happy to help people explain more about this, because I think everybody needs to understand what's going on with their dogs, that they're not aggressive dogs and they're not bad dogs. They're just emotionally upset dogs, and everybody's doing their best to work on that. So anything you want to add to any of that, Celeste? You're good?
No, I mean, I think that, people are going to see how successful things can be when they take the course.
I hope so. I hope so. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys in the course, and everybody continue. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope everybody has a great day. And we will probably post a few. Hopefully, if Celeste is okay to hang out with me, we might put up a few more lives about reactivity over the next couple of weeks, and we'll let you know when they're happening. Thanks, everybody. Take care. All right.